CBS News is a dumpster fire, and they just keep pouring kerosene on it. What do I mean? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Henry, and this is Conservative Commentary, where we spread the MAGA message. Before we dive in, I'd like to ask you for a favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out. And go over to youtube.com/@themagamessage and check out our other videos. President Trump has originally sued CBS for $10 billion over the editing of the Kamala Harris interview in order to make her remarks look more rational and less like the word salad she actually served up. Well, CBS then moved to dismiss the lawsuit, but the judge denied the motion. Next, the transcript and unedited video was released, and President Trump doubled down by upping his claim to $20 billion. There are reports that CBS is frantically trying to settle the lawsuit, but that's just for starters.
We got our hands on the raw footage of Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview. Last October, in the heat of the election, Harris, Hail Mary with CBS. But the network was caught deceptively editing this answer. Watch.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. The Wall Street Journal said that that your administration has repeatedly been blindsided by Netanyahu. And in fact, he has rebuffed just about all of your administration's entreaties.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Trump sued CBS for $10 billion, and it looks like they might settle. But before that happens, the FCC released the full interview, unedited, and we have the tape. They talked for an hour and left a lot out. Here's an answer that never made air. Watch.
I'm trying to understand how it is that with this emphasis on the border, the numbers of crossings quadrupled under the first 3 years of the Biden-Harris administration. How did that happen?
There are a variety of factors that relate to what we have seen globally and what we are not immune from at our own border in terms of what we have seen in terms of surge of immigration and irregular migration. And there are solutions at hand, but we've got to have leaders who are solution-oriented, which we've been and are.
CBS also cut out their host pressing Kamala on how she's going to pay for all of her giveaways.
If all of this makes so much sense, why has this not been done? You're dealing with a Congress that is divided, that many are in opposition to not only you but your policies. So how are you going to make this come true?
Bill, if I approached my life as though, well, it's never been done before, therefore it cannot be done, I wouldn't be sitting here in this interview with you. That's the truth.
Then 60 Minutes tossed Kamala a big fat softball, and she swung and missed.
The most basic of questions. Why do you want to be President of the United States?
There are many reasons, but probably first and foremost, I truly believe in the promise of America. I do. And I love the American people. You know, we are a people who have ambition and aspirations and dreams and optimism and hope.
That's why you want to run. That's why you want to be
That's why I'm
president.
running. That and some other reasons.
But you're asking the American people to make you the most powerful person on the planet. Why do you deserve the American people's votes?
Well, first of all, I have a career and a history of being very clear that I think of my role of leadership, and in particular now for the last 4 years as vice president and moving forward as president, if the voters will have me, as being a leader on behalf of all Americans.
Kamala wasn't the only one having a rough night. One of the crew guys misgendered Madam Vice President.
Is that what you needed?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. 30 seconds of silence, please, for John.
Vice President Vance recently spoke at the Munich Security Conference and warned European leaders about the danger of limiting free speech.
Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Then, in reaction to Vice President Vance's speech, CBS's Margaret Brennan claimed that free speech was the cause of the Holocaust. She said this in an interview with Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
He was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
That may be the stupidest thing I've ever heard on air. And Secretary Rubio was far more courteous and reserved than she deserved. But she may have been just a bit overzealous because VP Vance scorched her in a recent interview.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by...
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world. We absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's not good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
Did you notice her face? But now for the topper. CBS ran a piece on 60 Minutes in which it seemed to praise a German law which makes it a crime to post or repost anything insulting about another person. And this is why CBS News is a dumpster fire. What do you think about CBS News? Please share your thoughts in the comments.